What's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and today is episode number 28 of my 32 straight days previewing the 32 NFL teams ahead of the 2020 NFL season. I haven't watched the first 27 episodes. The link to the full playlist is down below in the description. Today's episode, I'll be looking at the San Francisco 49ers, and in 2019, they had a dream season of sorts for them, given the fact their expectations were not very high. The only thing that was missing was a Super Bowl. They went 13-3, tops in the NFC West and the entire NFC for that matter. And they made it all the way to the Super Bowl and had the lead late in the game, but could not simply hold on against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the biggest reasons for the 49ers' success was due to their play of their defense. After having a defense that allowed the 13th fewest total yards per game, which included having the fewest total interceptions in the NFL with 2, and the 9th fewest sacks with 37 in 2018. In 2019, the 49ers allowed the second fewest total yards per game, only behind the Patriots, which included the fewest passing yards per game. They did not defend all too well against the run, but that's a separate issue. And the 49ers also saw an increase in both interceptions and their sack totals with 12 and 48 respectively, both of which saw the 49ers move up in the league rankings in those categories. And the reason for that success of defensive coordinator Robert Saleh's defense is the addition of guys like Nick Bosa, Richard Sherman, who was already on the roster, Kwon Alexander, Dee Ford, among others. They traded DeForest Buckner, who was a major part of that defense, to Indianapolis in the offseason, but they drafted Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina, who was projected to be one of the best defensive players in the entire draft. They still have Arik Armstead, Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward, so I would not be surprised if this 49ers defense continues to put out at the level that they want. Looking at the offensive side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo started to show why the 49ers traded him and then gave him a massive contract, why he was worth that. Despite not being proven yet, but at the time they gave him that contract, George Kittle is one of the top tight ends in the NFL. He's probably the number 2 guy behind Travis Kelce, but you can make the case for number 1, and he is setting himself up nicely for a monster payday in a few years. The running game was superb in 2019, one of the best in the NFL. Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert primarily. Matt Breida played a small role, although he was traded off to Miami on on draft day. My one concern with this team is the wide receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, they let go in the offseason. He signed with New Orleans. Deebo Samuel, who smashed expectations in his rookie season, broke his foot and will miss the start of the season most likely. And who knows what type of impact that will play on his play. Broken foot is rumored to be a plantar fasciitis, somewhere around there. So the recovery time for him might be a little off. The running, it could spell trouble for Deebo Samuel. And hopefully that's not the case in the long term because he is an immensely talented player. After that, however, the 49ers are left with a rookie Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne, who was good in small doses last season, and Dante Pettis, who has not performed well since entering the league. So head coach Kyle Shanahan will have to think outside the box to maintain the offensive production that his team had in 2019. I think one of the main things that will result of this is George Kittle will see the football a lot. Kittle will be forced to perform for this team in the open field and just make plays on his own. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing because Kittle, sure, he's very talented, can make the plays happen, but I'm not too sure if the defenses will be they'll be so glued in on him. It's just one of those things I'm not 100% certain on. One final point of note is that the 49ers, they have an elite offensive line, and now that they've traded for Trent Williams, who they got from the formerly known as the Washington Redskins during the draft, this could help them even more going forward in terms of that running game. So I think Coleman, Mostert, maybe Jerick McKinnon, if he's healthy, could really take this running game to another level. Looking at the full 49ers schedule, which will be down below in the description, I see the 49ers having a lot of similar success in 2020 as they did in 2019, at least in terms of record. I have them starting out the year winning their first 6 games, beating Arizona at home, taking on the Jets and Giants on the road, winning those games, taking on the Eagles at home, taking on the Dolphins, and taking on the Rams. All those games wins. Then they have Week 7 at New England. The return of Jimmy Garoppolo to New England. And although there won't be fans present, I think this game will have a little bit something extra added to it. And the Patriots are going to come out hard. And I think Bill Belichick, he wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to be the successor to Tom Brady. Obviously, the Patriots traded him away after Tom Brady said, no, not on my watch. And this will be interesting. I think the Patriots defense could actually stifle this offense, something that none of the first 6 opponents for the 49ers will be able to do. Week 8, against the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks and the 49ers are going to be going at it for the NFC West crown, and it will be these division matchups that will ultimately decide it. I think that the 49ers will have the edge in this first matchup, but we'll see later on in the year if that continues. Week 9 versus the Packers. I mean, the 49ers ran all over the Packers in 2 matchups last season. Who's to say that they won't do that again? So I think they'll win that one. Week 10 at New Orleans. This was a showstopper of a game last year. I think it will once again. I have the 49ers winning once again against the Saints. Week 11 is their bye week, so I have them entering their bye week with only 2 losses, 8-2 overall. Very, very solid. And then coming out of their bye, their schedule fits nicely given the fact the caliber of opponents. Week 12 at the Rams, a win. Week 13 versus the Bills. Sure, the Bills have a good defense and a solid offense, but I think the 49ers defense could really create pressure on that Bills offensive line and force Josh Allen to make mistakes, which I wouldn't be surprised if he makes. So a win right there. Week 14 versus the Washington football team. They suck. Washington does not project to be very good this year, so I would not be surprised if the 49ers trample this squad. Week 15 at Dallas. The Cowboys are not on that level yet. Like I mentioned last video in my a couple of videos ago in the Philadelphia Eagles preview, the 49ers are a tier above the Cowboys, in my opinion. Maybe 2 tiers above the Cowboys. So I don't see why the Cowboys should have much of a shot here. Week 16 at Arizona. I do think this one's a loss because I think the 49ers will get caught looking ahead to Week 17 against the Seattle Seahawks, a game that will be very important for the division. The Cardinals do look to be much better than last season, and I think they'll compete with the 49ers, especially at home. So the Cardinals pull one out there. That keeps their playoff hopes alive. Then finally, Week 17 against the Seahawks at home. This game will most likely decide the division, and I have the San Francisco 49ers winning that one, clinching a 13-3 record, best in the NFC, and they'll have the number 1 seed because they have the tiebreaker over New Orleans, winning that Week 10 matchup. Could things change? 100%. Could the Packers or the Saints pull out wins against them? Sure. Could the Cowboys? Sure. But once again, who knows if the 49ers are going to lose to the Patriots? Let's remember, this team was the last standing undefeated team from 2019. So who says they can't do it again? 5 games I'm most looking forward to. Week 1 versus Cardinals. This will just be a nice way to see where this 49ers team is and can they repeat the success they had in 2019 and 2020, especially against a high-powered Cardinals offense on paper with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kenyon Drake, among others. Week 7 versus the Patriots, that matchup where Jimmy Garoppolo will make his return to New England. That will be very exciting for me, just to see how that dynamic plays out. Unfortunately, there won't be fans there, like I mentioned. Week 9 versus the Packers, like I said, 49ers demolish this Packers team last season on the ground. Who's to say they can't do it again? The Packers defense looks worse, in my opinion, from 2019 into this year. But who knows? Aaron Rodgers, a California kid, could sling it all over this 49ers defense. Who knows? Week 15 versus the Cowboys. This will be a nice game late in the season. Will greatly impact seeding. A game the Cowboys will probably need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. So circle that one on your calendar. And this is also just a rivalry game. The history between these two teams is immense. You know, in the 80s and 90s, these two teams have battled in the playoffs year after year. So this game, watch out for that one. There's always a little bit of bad blood between these two franchises. And then finally, Week 17 versus Seattle. This game will decide the NFC West and ultimately the NFC playoff picture. This will have major ripple effects, in my opinion, because this will determine if the 49ers get the 1 seed, if they win the division. It just goes on and on and on and on. So this is a game I'm really excited for. And I think it's just going to be a classic. Remember, last year, the 49ers-Seahawks game, Week 17, went down to the wire. It came down to the final play, and the 49ers were ultimately able to come out victorious. Who's to say that cannot happen again? But let me know what y'all think down below in the comment section. Can the 49ers replicate the success they had in 2019 into 2020? Or will they take a step back and maybe... will they make the playoffs? Will they miss the playoffs? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Thank y'all so much for watching. Next episode, I will be looking at the Seattle Seahawks. So another NFC West foe. You already got my take on the 49ers if you watched this full video. Hopefully you did. But yeah, the Seattle Seahawks, they're the 49ers' toughest competition in my opinion. So can't wait to do that one. Hope y'all enjoyed this one. Thank you all so much for watching once again, and we'll see you next time.